Thank you very much, Nwandi. And Ken, Nwandi, thanks so much for pulling this together and for inviting me onto this platform with some incredible people, fantastic comments. Gary, definitely a spin on things, which has got me thinking, there's quite a lot that we've already been looking at and considering regarding global players and their impact and stake in Africa, and how we take back that stake. And you mentioned China, and that's a huge topic across Africa, and essentially how much of Africa does China own, to be blunt. So fantastic speakers, thank you so much. With regard to me, impact entrepreneur, I'm founder of Safa Global, which is a consulting firm. We focus on strategic interventions that looks to scale impact in a different way, balancing both economic development and profitability, and also sustainability. And I'm also the global director for Global Women for Good, which Nwandi, you commented on the logo behind me. It's an Amazon's Watch initiative. We work toward women taking strategic and collaborative action. We're trying to move away from just speaking, but looking at how we can strategically come together in a way that supports transformation through leadership, industries, and economies for the good of society, both locally, because you have to start there, and outward globally. We believe that we can harness the power of networks, and from this collective body of knowledge and information and all of the resource that we have, we can create partnerships of influence that actively engage on issues. And as importantly, engage in a very strategic way to implement that achieves outcomes toward the Sustainable Development Goals. I'll move on now with a few remarks regarding our topic at hand today, redefining growth, sustainability, and innovation in Africa. I say in Africa, and indeed for Africa, because there's a lot that happens in Africa but isn't actually for Africa. And I believe that there are a few key elements that we need to take into account and to address. A lot of these have been commented on by previous speakers. The one is collaborations and partnership. We are now more than ever a networked economy. There is potential more than ever to amplify and to scale through partnerships. And we are not going to be able to address the issues that continue to plague Africa, despite us constantly working towards alleviating some of the pressure from these issues, if we operate in silos. And we need to start looking at not just local support and national support. We need to start looking at regional support and how we collectively move, how we collectively collaborate, how we start looking at partnerships that are strategic from within Africa and for Africa. The other is investment. We need to start looking at investment in a different way. Inward investment, yes, it's something which we have always looked at and considered, and indeed have had a lot of inward investment. We also need to look at investment within. So we're not just looking at, investing, as I mentioned, in Africa only for everything to leave Africa. We're looking at investing in our people, in our infrastructure, in our resources for our continent. And we need to start looking at investing outwards. So how do we actually start to look at, local, regional strength and bargaining power in numbers, essentially, that creates an export economy for Africa, so that we are not just looking at what has happened for decades, that we are truly shifting the narrative. And these are not easy things to look at and to consider when we start to look at strategic interventions and collaborating across borders, because it is fractured on numerous levels. But we have to realize that for the greater good, it is now essential. You know, we have to move from Africa rising to Africa risen. So this is something we really need to move forward on. We need to start looking at multi-level approaches, you know, looking at the individual, looking at community, looking at institutions, and looking at what is systemic. And there are a number of things on all of these levels which works in Africa in a very different way. And one of the big things is actually shifting mindset. You know, how do we shift mindset towards one which in all of these levels is looking at development, looking at support, looking at encouraging innovation, encouraging that growth, looking at multi-stakeholder approaches, private, public sector partnerships. And this is going to be key. Again, you know, not really easy, but we have to start addressing this. And more than ever, and indeed through this platform, you know, through African Leadership Magazine, through all of the networks and all of the people that have come in through this platform, there is the ability to start doing that. There's the ability to start having those conversations, to start looking at how we can work together to start implementing some of these approaches, some of these methodologies and strategies for action. And yes, at the beginning, some of it might be trial and error, but you know, that's the only way that we're going to work toward real change for Africa. We can't talk about innovation without talking about capacity building, you know, education, skills development, progression opportunities for young people and women, job creation. And jobs don't come from thin air. We have to look at businesses, you know, how do we start to encourage an entrepreneurial mindset, and not just a mindset, but an environment that allows for development of entrepreneurs, that it's a little bit more, you know, invests in that entrepreneurial mindset. Looks at ecosystems of support, looks at and encourages the support of trial and error, and also intercontinental trade that actually boosts that and allows for us to start building businesses from within. And finally, digitalization and connectivity. And alongside that, because one of the speakers said, you know, we can throw money at tech and connectivity, but we also have to look at the infrastructure. You know, what is actually fit for purpose within the continent and works. In terms of my remarks, those are just a few. Thank you.
I really appreciate that so much, because you've given us this very comprehensive vision and certainly some very concrete examples, which is what we need as well. So we want to thank you very much. That's Noleen Mariappen she's as she mentioned, an impact entrepreneur and consultant in the UK. And we're very delighted to have received this really excellent vision as to what are the next steps. If we're going to describe Africa 4.0 and make it more than just a slogan, what are some of the steps that we need to take? At this point, we want to move. Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry. One more thing. I just had to say, I'm in the UK, but I'm actually from South Africa. So.
Okay.
Africa.
Well, it is wonderful to have South Africa in the house. Thank you so very much for your remarks today.